quality of this water didn't correspond to chemical content and macrobiological contamination requirements.
Не було основну частину цього часу ні світла, ні води, ні тепла. Кисень постачався погано, так як уже було з'єднання з Києвом.
Hello and welcome to Ukrainian Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euroatlantic Course. My name is Anton Pechenkin and I am a journalist in Ukraine Media Center. If you want to know more, please subscribe to our channel in order to stay tuned and like and comment this video. And today's topic is Civil Heroes of War, Ukrainian Maternity Hospitals. We have already portrayed Ukrainian civil heroes from different spheres: public utility services, railway workers, public health, restaurant businesses, and today came the turn of the maternity hospitals, the especially delicate sphere of medicine. Demographic problem in Ukraine was severe even before the full-scale aggression. From 52 million in 1991, the Ukrainian population declined to approximately 42 million in 2021. And the Russian invasion made this problem extremely worse. As Andrii Hrybanov, director of Ukrainian Institute of Demography, stated in our press center, Ukrainian population can contain only 30 million people by 2030. Given this and the horrific conditions of the war, it's very important to provide all the possible conditions for the new Ukrainian mothers. That's why the maternity hospitals are another front line now. In this episode, we collected several witnesses from this sphere, and I welcome the first one, Andrii Hrybanov, Chief Medical Officer at a maternity hospital in the frontline city of Mykolaiv.
My name is Hrybanov Andrii, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer of the maternity hospital number 3 here in Mykolaiv. There were 3 maternity hospitals in our city, but my medical facility is the biggest one, and it provides the utmost care here in Mykolaiv and in Mykolaiv region, with almost 2,000 deliveries per year and 1,000 major gynecological operations per year as well. Also, our institution is a huge teaching hospital because we have about 7 to 8 residents each year rotating here, and we are affiliated with Odessa National Medical University. Of course, after the beginning of the war, we decided on how to organize our work more effectively here. And of course, we faced numerous challenges during the first days of the war until now. One of these challenges was the lack of personnel. You can compare, we had about 254 employees before the war, and now we have only 171 employees. So the number of employees decreased by 33%. Most of these people left our region and even Ukraine for safer places. Of course, some medical professionals will seek opportunities to find suitable job at their safer places, and most of them may not return, and it's a big concern for us. Thus, it may raise a problem when the war ends. Of course, we have the lack of physicians and nurses as well. Just imagine if we had 5 nurses before war in our department of obstetric pathology, so now we have only 2 of them, and of course it may affect their working load. But besides the medical personnel, we face and feel the shortage of technical personnel. For example, we have before the war we had 2 cooks, and now only 1 person worked at the kitchen of the facility. There were even days when we didn't provide hot meals because of the absence of the cook. Of course, we substituted them with some snacks or other products, but it's as you know, we have breastfeeding women as patients, and it's not very suitable for them. We face other problems with the personnel, as the transportation of the personnel, the problem of the transportation of the personnel has not been solved yet by local authorities. This problem become more actual, especially during curfew, especially the night hours, and especially for those of our personnel who live in suburban area. Sometimes our bridges are open, not allowing the Russian troops to come into the city and to approach to Odessa, but it affects the transportation of personnel. And of course, this problem seems to be more serious because of the fuel deficit, and the prices of the fuel are growing, and this make the problem this augments the problem of personal transportation to our clinical facility. As I know from some conversations of our personnel, that sometimes it takes about 2 hours by walk to get to our clinical facility for some of the personnel. And of course, it's very difficult for them to get to their work.
As we explored in our previous episode about the life in the frontline Mykolaiv, the city is suffering a dramatic shortage of clean drinking water. Extremely severe this problem is for the maternity houses. Andrii Hrybanov explains how they managed to solve the fresh water deficit.
Also, we face some technical difficulties at the work. First, we do not have the tap water, which corresponds to all chemical and microbiological requirements. As you know, on the 12th of April, the branch which feeded Mykolaiv was damaged by Russian troops, and it is difficult to fix it now, as the site of the damage is situated on the territory of Kherson region, which is occupied by Russian troops now. In response to this situation, our local authorities started the program which allowed us to drill the wells on the territory of our institution, and these wells were switched to our in-home tap system. But the analysis showed that the quality of this water didn't correspond to chemical content and microbiological contamination requirements. Of course, such situation complicates in many aspects. For example, processing and reprocessing of surgical instruments, especially such gentle ones, for example, like laparoscopic or hysteroscopic instruments. Of course, this problem makes very difficult cooking meals for patients. And of course, such problem makes difficult to organize some hygienic procedures for mothers and neonates. But thanks to many partners, volunteers, and public health board who are trying to overcome this problem with us. For example, our local authorities and volunteers, they helped us with the transportation of drinking and purified water in bottles. Also, we closely cooperate with UNICEF, and at the moment we're expecting to arrive filters for water and tablets for water purification. Also, due to our major and city public health board, we are seeking money and fundraising resources for some equipment to purify water and purifying stations.
As Mykolaiv is under constant rocket and artillery fire, the cellar of the hospital became not only a bomb shelter, it's now the permanent place of living for the patients and even for giving birth and surgeries.
Also, almost constant and heavy rocket and artillery missiles affect our work as well. Before the war, we had a basement in our clinical facility, which was not adapted to serve as a bomb shelter. But we understand that the war dictated its terms, so with our own forces and with our employees, we equipped the shelter in the basement of our facility. We put the benches, some kind of equipment, kettles and so on there, and as far as I know, it's the only shelter in our district. So not only patients, but many other people, mainly inhabitants of the neighboring residential area, used it during the bombings. But it raised many security concerns, because different dangerous people could have hidden among the people coming from the residing area. Like looters, murderers, secret service agents, enemy soldiers, Russian enemy soldiers, and so on. So we asked our policy to provide armored security service to our facility, but sometimes it's not possible technically to provide such security. So we face security concerns. Also, organization of such shelter was epidemiologically hazardous, as the epidemics of COVID-19 continued in February and March 2022. We lacked rooms in such shelter in our basement. So we were forced to place the patients with a positive test for COVID-19 together with other people and with other patients. Later we created an individual room for such isolators, maybe, for such patients, but it was of course later.
Mr. Hrybanov says 30% of all the births were given in the bomb shelter, but it raises not only problem of the cleanness and comfort in these extreme premises, but several other important challenges.
Also, we equipped a labor ward in the shelter. As far as I know, 186 births were registered since the start of the war, and 30% of them occurred in our shelter labor ward. Imagine that we have 2 or maybe even 3 multiple pregnancies delivered during the bombings. Also, we have 2 children with weights more than 5,100 grams also delivered in the shelter. So these facts showed how glorious were our efforts to provide as much perinatal care as we can. But in case of emergency, for example, when some complications occurred or some indications for cesarean section appeared, we still ought to go to the operational theater, which was situated on the 4th floor. And imagine that elevators didn't work as they were not maintained by the corresponding services during the war. That was a big problem of transportation of our patients from the shelter to the operational theater. Also, the bright lighting in the operational theater was an attractive target under condition of blackout. Thus, our specialists as a result, our specialists performed the surgeries as fast as they can. Also, they try to manage the labor as carefully as they can. And it resulted in tremendous decrease of cesarean sections in our facility from 24% before war to 13% now. Further, we equipped operational theater in our shelter as well.
Our next speaker is Vasyl Gusak, General Director of a maternity hospital. Mr. Gusak asked us not to name the city where he is living and working, but however we know that this city was under Russian siege and now happily liberated from it. Let's listen to him witnessing.
Заклад працював під час війни, оті 47 днів, які знаходилися в облозі, в екстремальних умовах, так як не було основну частину цього часу ні світла, ні води, ні тепла. Кисень постачався погано, так як уже не було з'єднання з Києвом. Відповідно, ми користувалися кисневими концентраторами. Ну, а все остальне, що відбувалося, звісно, було важко. Але в той же час ми працювали просто в екстремальних умовах. Відбувалися пологи, і багато діток народилося. Можна точно сказати, що за цей місяць, за 30 днів народилося 127 дітей. І все закінчилося благополучно.
As this city was even in worse conditions than Mykolaiv, all the activity of the maternity hospital was conveyed in the bomb shelter. Mr. Gusak explains how it was in his case.
Враховуючи оці воєнні дії, які відбувалися дуже активно, особливо перші 2 тижні, значить, ми працювали в бомбосховищі, де і відбувалися і пологи, і там знаходилося, бувало, такий час до 100 людей. Це і люди, які знаходилися після пологів, враховуючи, що там було більше 20 співробітників. Значить, там деякі жінки і народжували, і там продовжували знаходитися. А коли було не дуже активні бойові дії, значить, народжували ми на першому поверсі, а вже після пологів жінок переводили точно туди ж, у бомбосховище. Значить, як я вже сказав, там знаходилося до 30 наших співробітників, це включаючи і педіатрів, і дитячих медсестер. Так як відбулося, особливо за перших 10 днів, народили 2 тройні і 3 двійні, так ці всі дітки знаходилися у бомбосховищі, рахуйте, 6 і 10 дітей. І вони всі там були з мамами, і була необхідність їх всіх там і гріти, і кормити. Значить, там знаходилося іще біля 10 співробітників дитячої реанімації, бо вони були, частина з них були недоношені.
In his last piece of speech, Mr. Gusak assured that his maternity hospital is fully provided with all needed. However, he is dreaming about renewing the medical equipment and asks the volunteers for help.
Наш заклад укомплектований, достатньо в нас практично всього. Продуктів, там всього достатньо, але на даному етапі багато вже у нас апаратури застаріло, яка необхідно її оновлювати. І наші потреби однозначно це для дитячої реанімації. У нас кювези дитячі, які вже по 10 років працюють, вже вийшли їхні ресурси. Якби хотілося б обновити, купити нові, при можливості ми це робимо. Я дякую волонтерам, не так давно нам один кювез було подарено Церкви Ісуса Христа. І я б хотів оновити всі, їх нам потрібно 9-10, а так як у нас 9 ліжок в дитячій реанімації. Також нам потрібні апарати УЗІ, які теж старіють, все виходить потихеньку, їхній ресурс виношується. Так що хотілося б, наприклад, УЗІ-апарат, якби можливість така була, аби якісь волонтери нам його подарували. А так у закладі достатньо всього. Слава Богу, заклад на плаву, заклад виконує свої функції.
You have been watching the special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euroatlantic Course dedicated to the Russia-Ukraine war, Ukraine in Flames. In description, there is also information how personally you can help Ukraine and us in our fighting against the Russian aggression. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and write a commentary. Thank you again for watching, and everything is gonna be Ukraine.